Okay, so we are live. Let's see if we are actually live. Welcome, folks. Welcome, YouTube. I'm not on Periscope right now, YouTube only. So if you're around, just say hello so I know that it's working. Let me know if it's working in the comments. Or I don't see any comments here, so am I missing it? Hold on a second here. Oh, there we are. So it's just not showing up on my screen here for whatever reason. There we go. Wasn't showing up before. Galvano's new. Hello, Faraz, Donnie. We are live. The Medleb, Jeremy. Jeremy is new too. Jill. Iron Fist. Hello, Iron Fist. Cad Noir. Hiya. Twist Mint. Hello, people. Yeah, I see it's working. Glad to have you here. Some new names, and glad to see some new names. Yeah, I want to do this like I do with Periscope, where I actually start to recognize everyone. You're a Brax junkie, John? Which John are you? Are you on Brax? Hello, Drac. Entire Meyer. So I'm not. I decided that too many headaches with having Periscope, and I didn't think there was so much of a benefit. So was there last Friday too? Was there on here on the broadcast? AMG. I didn't start Periscope. Somebody complained to me that I shut down the South VPN whenever I use Periscope, and I said, hell with this. Not going to bother. So there was like, hello, Gary Clements. Thank you. Gary Clements. So I have, the screen's right in front of the camera, so it's really, really easy to read. And I can look kind of near the camera, so I don't have to look down. My Patreon account is on on the description of the video. And yes, please understand that we need your support to keep doing this channel. And if I told you how much money I made in advertising for the last month, then you'll understand why your support is very important. I believe last month in advertising I made $140. Okay, that's the advertising. Hello, Hawaii dealer. That's the income I get from YouTube. So the only way to sustain this channel is from your support, and I'm glad that things are actually watching on a PinePhone, Rocky. Awesome. I'm glad that things are moving as far as the channel goes. The reports of my subscriber count is actually wrong. I'm actually already at 9,100. I'm at 9,100 subscribers, so I'm going to be at 10,000 hopefully by the end of the month. So have you got your PinePhone? It's floating around LA for the last 3 days. They said it's in LA, and where is it? So it said ready to go to the final destination, and then it's being forwarded to some other facility. So I don't really know what's up. So maybe I'll do a unboxing video on Sunday. Maybe it'll be Sunday, but that's okay. Almost 10K subscribers. Yes. So yes, I'm gonna get to 10K very, very soon here, because I'm already at 9,100. So just 900 more to go, and that typically is less than a month's worth. So yes. So 10,000. We need to get to 10,000. Is tonight's broadcast about the link I said earlier? No, Drac. What OS are you running as an OS, Rocky? Yes, what OS are you running on your PinePhone? Hello, Turbos SMX official, Rocky, Ubuntu Touch. Okay, so you're running Ubuntu Touch. So did you watch my new video? Hello, Luis, losing ba, Morang. Did you watch my video on Ubuntu Touch today? My video number 3 on Ubuntu Touch, because you know, the first reaction to it was a dislike. Fortunately, it's only one, but somebody didn't like me saying anything negative about Ubuntu Touch. But yeah, I have to be honest with the pluses and minuses, and I had to be honest with some of the problems. So yes, and that doesn't mean anything because I'm still using Ubuntu Touch right here. This is Ubuntu Touch. So I have another one that's running Lineage OS. So I'm trying to even get away from Lineage OS and use more Ubuntu Touch, but it depends on the apps that I need. So, but as far as running Brax Me, because that's one of the limitations I had with, that's why I wanted to use Lineage OS because Brax Me wasn't working as well on Ubuntu Touch, but then I put it on the Open Store on Ubuntu Touch. So Brax Me is now on the Open Store, and it runs fine. So it runs fine on Ubuntu Touch and any Linux version. I tried to use Catch MITM on the back, ran into some issues that I didn't encounter on Ubuntu Touch, so I didn't getting it to run. Iron Fist, tell me what the issues are, or you can put them right on GitHub and let me know, because I don't have one to try. So I haven't actually tested it on anything but the desktop, and I tried to install it on Ubuntu Touch, and I have so many issues. That's partly why I did the video. So what would be the best ROM for privacy? The best is not a ROM. The best is a Linux phone. So if I were to grade it, using any kind of Linux phone would be ahead of the game. And then if not that, then I'm fine with using any of the AOSPs, Lineage OS being the most popular, as long as you do not put gaps. Do not put gaps. Does Brax Me require subscription? No, if Brax Me is free. Unless you use something premium, it's completely free. The premium features allows you to make your own websites and your own private community. So, if you want to build your own identity inside the app, like, excuse me, like, for example, you can on Brax Me you can make a church. You kind of can make a private church platform, and nobody sees anybody else except for your own community. So when they join, you give them a private link, and they have really a private experience on Brax Me. And you can do live broadcasts, you can do chats, you can do rooms and all that, and file storage. So you don't even need it runs on mobile. So you have a mobile platform with complete everything. Brax Me is a very, very complete app. It has everything, including live streaming. So what big is the scope of ARM software? What big is the scope of ARM software for Linux? I can't wait for my Librem 5 to get here, but everyone says it runs super hot, battery life ain't great, etc., etc. Yes, some dude. We'll talk about that, because there's a little bit of angst in the community, especially from the developers of the other environments, and they feel like purism doesn't really want them to use the Librem 5, which is unfortunate, because there's so many possibilities. If the community got into the Librem 5, there's going to be so many possibilities with it, including solving some of these issues in a faster way. But it's not going to how big is the scope of ARM software for, I don't know what that means. How big is the scope? Losing ball. Please smash the like button. Yes, please smash the like button. There's 35 of you here. Yes, smash the like button so that I can tell you more stuff. So anyway, one thing at a time first. Again, yes, this channel appreciates your sponsorship. I appreciate the patrons I have on Patreon for this channel, and some of you give super hearts, super chats on YouTube, and some of you buy my products, which is just appreciated. This is one of my main products that is doing very well. This is like I can't believe how popular this is. So this is one of my most popular things that I have, and it's a Brax router. And if you don't know what this is, it's basically a Raspberry Pi 4. Although this is not a Raspberry Pi 4 version, but I use it for demo. But the ones that you get nowadays is a Raspberry Pi 4. And this is a router that does Wi-Fi, but if you want to expand, you can use it as a wired router. And that's one of the biggest innovations that it has since December, that this one is now running in wired mode. And if you run this in wired mode, you can actually funnel your entire home traffic through this acting as a gigabit router, which means you don't have to do any kind of special hardware or software. You just route your entire traffic to this. And I have a video about it. You can watch the video. It's about how I set up my home network. And it's one of the more recent videos of the last month. And it talks about specifically how to use this. And you can attach as many Wi-Fi routers to this, no problem. I'm running four routers on this, plus I have an independent router. So I have 5 routers running on my network, and 4 of them are running through here. So this is one of my products, and it simplifies your household. One of the things that I often say is it's very dangerous to even lose your connection to a VPN even for a moment, because it's when your cell phone is asleep, it's actually working and sending data, and apps in the background are sending your location and they're selling that data that comes from especially from mobile phones. So your mobile phones are actually sending location data and IP address data, and that pair is being sent to these companies that are using it to come up with a reverse IP lookup database. And basically what that means is somebody can look at your IP address and find your exact location. So you don't want to be in that database, because then your IP address will point to you exactly with your real name. So you don't want that. So it doesn't need a mesh. You basically connect anything to it, including a mesh if you want. It doesn't really matter what you connect to it. But it's a Wi-Fi by itself. But when you use it in wired, the Wi-Fi turns off and it turns into just a router. Okay, a wired router. So typically I switch my network to have 2. I have a VPN network and a non-VPN network. Some companies ban VPNs, like Netflix. And so that's why you often need an alternate in an emergency where you don't have a VPN. But it really keeps it simple. And so this is a big improvement over the old one. If you have the old version, think about upgrading to this. So, because this means you can actually rewire your entire network and have quite a bit of simplicity in using a VPN. One of you were like spending time with me trying to install VPNs on iPhones and so on, and it's very difficult to install VPN software on many devices. It's really very, very time consuming. And your fear too is if it makes a connection when it's on sleep mode, and then it reveals your information like location and IP address, which you don't want, especially with emails. So you don't want that, and the only solution that I can come up with is this. So I use this myself. My entire network is running on at least 2 of these Brax routers right now. One is being used as a Wi-Fi, and one of them is the main router, gigabit. So this is a Raspberry Pi 4. If you're not in the U.S., You can buy your own Raspberry Pi 4, buy your own case, and all you need is the software, which I can ship to you anywhere in the world. And the other thing you need is the other thing you can do is download it. So you can download it. Who would my VPN be? Well, I recommend using my VPN, Bytes VPN, although it actually works with any VPN. But it's recommended to use mine because it makes it easier to install. You can install the VPNs. It's a few more steps. Using Bytes VPN is really simple. You just select it from the menu. So it's really made right now to work with Bytes VPN. It's possible to use any VPN. So if you're running any other VPN because you're in a different country, that's fine. You don't have to use my VPN. But if you're in the U.S., you can do this. So please, there's 38 of you here now, and please hit the like button so that the algorithm thinks that this is a good channel. Again, things that help. Like I said, my channel made $140 last month in advertising. So you can see I'm really getting rich from doing this. So your help is really appreciated. This is a full-time job for me. And full-time job. This is all I do, and I make videos, several times a week, as well as live streaming. So anyway, I've kind of settled with. Okay, what did I miss here? I'm kind of still with LOS, gapsless, rooted so that I can deeply control almost every such aspect of the phone. It's okay if you're using Lineage OS without gaps. That's fine. The only thing is be careful with what apps you install, because some apps are still tied to Google, whereas it's impossible to get anything tied to Google from a Linux phone. So, and we're going to talk about some options on the Linux phone because Ubuntu Touch is the main one that we're all using right now. But I want to project for you what's going to happen, because this is really an exciting time, and maybe some of you don't really know what's happening or even why you need to think about this. A lot of you don't want to think about that because you love your iPhone. But just to let me see, before I go on, let me just look at your comments here. Get 4 heat sinks for the Raspberry Pi 4. Usually case come with 3. Yes. You can use 3 if you make sure that you hit the correct 3, but preferably 4. I bet YouTube's cut is substantially more. Well, yes. Yeah, I don't make any money from advertising, basically. But guys, we're hitting close to 10,000 subs. The numbers are actually lower than what you're seeing. They are lower than what it is. I'm already at 9,100 subs right now, so I'm expecting to be at 10,000 hopefully by the end of the month. So that's very good, because I've only been doing this for a year. So 1 year to get to 9,000 in 1 year is awesome. I wanted to get to 10,000 in 1 year, but I'm off by a little bit, but it's close enough. What else did I miss here? Okay, what else did I miss in the comments? Welp getting kids into bed, so I'll get back shortly. Okay, I think the posts remain. How big is the catalog of ARM software for Linux? Is there a lot of ARM-oriented software for Linux? Or is it, let's talk about that too. Let's remind me when I get there. Okay, remind me when I get there. Okay, so again, please hit the like button if you like, or dislike. If you dislike the channel, hit the dislike. But I'm doing this for you. I'm a public interest technologist. I'm doing this in the public interest and doing it currently at a loss to me. While I build this channel, it is a loss. So you just understand that it's 1 year of a loss, 1 year of hardly any income while I'm doing this. So please help this channel. And the best way to help this channel is actually do something very basic, and that is to buy my product. Now, one of the things I do is I actually ship to you a Nexus 5 with Ubuntu Touch pre-installed. You want a Nexus 5 with Ubuntu Touch pre-installed? I install it for you if you don't have the skills to install Ubuntu Touch on your device. I do it for you. Unfortunately, it's very hard to get a Ubuntu Touch for a reasonable price, so I don't usually have that many to sell. The batch that I have this week is already sold. I don't have any at the moment, so you'll have to pre-order, and then I have to order them. Right now, I don't have any, unless you want 16 gigabytes. This is 32 gigabytes. If you're okay with 16 gigabytes, let me know. I can buy those. 16 gigabytes are very easy to get. 32 gigabytes is harder to get. So if you use a Nexus 5 like this, you can run Ubuntu Touch, and pretty much most things work. The only thing that doesn't work on it so far, which hopefully they'll fix in the future, the current thing that doesn't run on Ubuntu Touch is video recording. So photos are fine. Video recording doesn't work. That's a recent bug. And car phone Bluetooth, using the phone in the car, does not work. So other than that, Bluetooth works for playing music, just for phone use. So if you're using it for phone, that doesn't work. Those are the known bugs at the moment. And if you watch my latest video, and it tells you about some of the usability issues that you get used to it. It's a bit different. It's not like using Android and iOS. But you know what? Let me just be honest with you guys. We don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. If you think that you can survive with your spy phone iOS and spy phone Android, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I can't believe how much spying is being done by those platforms. That's one of the reasons I put in a VPN network in my house, is because even when I'm sleeping, the zucking iPhone and the zucking Android is sending out my data. Now they can't do that because they're doing it on a VPN. Okay, so they can't. All location data is off. I don't even change that setting. It's completely off location. And even if the location is off, Apple and Android can still spy on you. So by VPNing my network, then they really have missing pieces of information. The purpose of a VPN is disinformation, primarily for your phone. It's disinformation. So you need this to give them this information, so they stop collecting the data. And I don't know, I'm just so fed up. The more I study, what the kind of spying being done on a phone, I'm just so disgusted. I'm so disgusted. I just don't want to use it anymore. I don't want to even touch it. When I know what it's doing to me, I'm like saying, do I even want to bring it? Why does it need to know where I'm going? Use your for those of you who have iPhones, come on, guys. It tells you you're 5 minutes from your destination. How does does it know your zucking destination? How does it know that? Yes, I have 5 iPhones too, probably 10 iPhones. Tim Crook. Lost perhaps, but a great credit to the community. Thank you. That's what I'm trying to do here. It will pay off in the long run, I know. Maybe I could be able to sustain myself by next year. But this year, it's, maybe at the end of the year I'll sustain myself. But right now, it's, I only survive from your help. So I have a Patreon channel, a Patreon account, if you feel like contributing, people contribute like $5 a month. Some very small amount, or you can use my VPN, which is better for you. Then you at least have a service you're getting. Or if you want a Brax router, or if you want one of these phones. Again, I don't have many of these phones. If you want to order a Nexus 5 with software preloaded from Ubuntu Touch, pre-order it because I don't have it in stock. Usually, what happens is I get them on Fridays. The batch I got today is already sold, and people ordered it on Monday. So, you have to order in advance. So it's on a pre-order basis now because I can't keep up. So I can't get enough phones. So yeah, can't get enough phones. If you want to sell me your Nexus 5 for $60, then I'll buy it. If you have anybody have an old Nexus 5 that's in reasonable condition, I'll buy it for $60. Okay, so location settings are no longer trustworthy. Yes, Savvy, that's the Apple can track you even with location settings off. That's why the spy phone concept, and same with Android. Android and Apple can spot you with locations off. If you understand that, now fortunately Apple isn't selling that data, but they have it. So I don't need to have Apple know and then have somebody, subpoena that or something that says, oh, you went to the market, you went to this market, you went to this whatever, and something happened there, and you were there. Therefore, we're gonna go, question you, even though you have nothing to do with it, but you were found at this location. You don't understand, folks. You carry a phone and you go to any place, and they have a list of people in that zucking location. Do you want to be like, identified as being in a specific location at any time if you're not doing anything bad? So things that, you have freedom to do. For example, you're at a protest. You can't even protest with a zucking phone. Where do you have any kind of freedom? So reminds me of, again, in Hong Kong where these people were wearing anonymous masks and they were walking around with their phone. And it's like, oh, we're anonymous. It's like, you're zucking not anonymous. You have a phone on you. So we got to do our best to stop this. And one of the first ways we can do it is think about maybe switching devices. By the way, if you like your iPhone, it's fine. Leave it at home. I use my iPhone for reading. I love reading. So, I have to read every day. And I have my iPhone basically for Kindle. That's it. That's pretty much what I use it for. It doesn't really do anything else. Just run Kindle. Kind of an expensive device for running Kindle. Only if I'm lost in the desert. What do you think of Lineage OS for start into privacy on a phone? Google free, of course. Yes, Lineage OS is fine. Google free is fine. If it's not Google free, it's not fine. Understand, if it's not Google free, Google knows your location at all times. Lineage OS, Google free is fine, but APK apps may still be tied to Google. So it doesn't mean it's perfect. You actually have to be careful with the apps, which is impossible to do on this. Okay, so Linux apps are completely safe. Even if you use Google Maps on here, it's not going to get any data from you. Okay, Google Maps with location off on a Linux phone. It's like my reaction is, zuck you, Google. How can voice over IP apps can be traced if you're using a VPN? How can voice over IP apps can be well, obviously that makes it more difficult, but from a timestamp, the telephone company knows what time you were on. Yeah, they can find you from timestamp. Not read your traffic necessarily, but they know you from a timestamp. But right, it does. A VPN encrypts your voice over IP for the leg that they're wanting to track. What is missing from YouTube on Nexus 5? It's not perfect privacy device, is it? What's missing from Ubuntu Touch on a Nexus 5 is that it doesn't have a kill switch, which is on the PinePhone. So when the PinePhone is ready, it's not yet ready for use with Ubuntu Touch, but if you use a PinePhone, my PinePhone isn't here yet. It's floating around LA somewhere, so hopefully I get it tomorrow. It should have arrived yesterday, but I still don't have it. So Ubuntu Touch, the SIM card, the baseband modem can track you using Stingray. So the phone can track you from the cell side, and on a PinePhone you can switch off the cell. Now, yes, you cannot switch off the cell here, but you can take out the SIM card, which is kind of the same thing. Okay, so it's a little harder to do, but yes, take off the SIM card on this if you're going to, someplace that you don't want to be identified, like a crowded location. Take off the SIM card, and then if you're using a Linux phone with no SIM card, it's in pretty good shape. It's close to happening there. It's going to be good. With rooted and gapsless Linux OS, one can and should selectively disable every analytics and Firebase service of any installed app. Yes. Now, how do you do that? How do you disable Firebase? Is there an app to block? Is there an app to block Firebase? I'd like to know which app can block Firebase on an installed app. Is the off button not a kill switch? No, Jellyfish. No, because it's on standby. Oh, you mean if it's completely off with power? Yes, it is a kill switch, but then you can't use the phone, which is kind of, no fun, because you want to use your phone, you want to play game, you want to play Pac-Man on your Ubuntu Touch. You can play Pac-Man, but when the radio is on, then the radio is transmitting. I didn't know about the APK. It's just starting out the stuff. But this doesn't have APKs. There's so many. There's not much you can do to spy on this other than the baseband, which is independent of the OS. Okay, the spying via the baseband is not tied to the OS. So, and you can be spied on also on the Wi-Fi, although that's more that's a different kind of spying, and perhaps not in the same realm as Stingray spying. Because the problem with spying on the baseband is they can check your identifier called IMSI, and then know exactly who you are. So by name, and address, and home address. So the IMSI is a lot more evident. So if you're in a Hong Kong protest, for example, and you're walking around with your phone, each phone is broadcasting their IMSI. So all you have to do is walk around with a Stingray device and capture all the IMSIs in the area, and then you got a list of protesters. Then you take them to the government and say, here we are, list of protesters, and here are their names. We can check them out on the home location register, HLR, and it's sorted by IMSI. Plug in every IMSI in there, and it will tell you who they are. Probably even their credit rating. I don't sell PinePhones. What I have are Nexus 5s. PinePhone is not ready yet, by the way. So I don't actually sell the Nexus 5. I buy the Nexus 5 at cost, sell it to you at cost, around $70 now because of tax. The state of California is adding tax on these. So I'm paying $70 for a Nexus 5 now with the tax, and then I ship it to you, and then and I charge $99 for my time to install Ubuntu Touch on it. Have you heard of NetGuard? No. You mean some of you asked about WireGuard. WireGuard is a new protocol, but all commercial VPNs use OpenVPN. We don't use WireGuard. That's 100%. So no particular reason to change. Most of commercial VPNs are based on OpenVPN. So and it's this commercial software is already available for use using OpenVPN or servers OpenVPN, and it's just a bigger market, bigger open source community. So, and it's very stable, so we don't need to worry about that. If you want to experiment with WireGuard on your own, you can certainly do that. Okay, so Tor is slower, of course. Yes, there are my Android tools from APK Mirror, which I'm using to disable services from Play Store, but I don't like it as much. Okay, that's interesting. I don't really know anything about that yet. Tor is slow. Thanks. Yeah, but slow is relative. It's either that or no internet for some people. Like what choice does Snowden have? Or, Snowden needs needs Tor. He doesn't have a choice. He has to use Tor. So, yeah. So I don't think McAfee uses Tor. He uses a completely different methodology. I can guess what the methodology is, but I wouldn't consider it a legal way. So, but he's not in the U.S., so he doesn't have to worry about it. But I wouldn't use the hackers have another way of accessing the internet that does not use Tor and does not use a VPN, and unfortunately, it requires you to hack. And so I'm not going to teach you that, and I don't want to suggest that in any kind of way. But some hackers do use it, but it's not legal. Okay, you're going to be a Kevin Mitnick, so I don't do that. Everything I do is pretty much on the up and up. You're not going to come to me and say, I have evidence of you doing illegal activity. I do not do anything illegal. Okay? Everything that I do is straight up. Tor is the same speed as a 3G dongle. Really? Yeah, Tor, you get, actually, some Tor speeds can go up to 20 megabits per second. Although it in theory it's capped at 10 megabits. But yeah, sometimes you can get a little higher because maybe the servers are more higher performance. So anyway, let's any more questions on that? Okay, so again, please, there's 50 of you here, and if you like the content, please hit the like on the broadcast. So that would be so appreciated if you hit the like on the broadcast, because that the algorithm uses that to decide if I'm worth recommending as a channel. So okay, and again, thank you. We are this channel is going to reach 10,000 subs soon. So so I appreciate it, and that is very positive. I actually compared myself. I get more traffic here than Security Now. Okay, I get more subscribers per month, more views, more watch time than Security Now. So this channel is doing very well. I'm just not as established as Security Now. Security Now has been around for a very, very long time, probably a decade. So this channel is doing very, very well. And yes, I am focusing this channel more on getting more and more technical. Thank you, Lakudos aboard. The channel is getting more technical. I know I am scaring some of you older followers. I don't mean old in age, but the more regular followers from the old days are probably getting lost now in some of the technical stuff that the videos are doing. It's getting much deeper. And don't worry, the live streams are still pretty easy. And the reason for that is the algorithm is pushing me to do more tech stuff. The more tech detail I do, the more the algorithm likes it. So I kind of don't have a choice. I have to probably do a mix of 60-30, 60% very deep, and then 30% more on big, just general topics. So just to understand, what I'm up to, it's intentional. Some of you will say, nobody understands some of your terms. I understand. It's intentional to get the subscribers I need to get. I'm reaching a much more technical area, and so that's what's happening. Now, some of you are new to my channel, and you may not have any idea about my background, and say, why should we believe this guy? I mean, what does he know? For some of you who followed me in Periscope for the last 4.5 years, almost 5 years, You know that I have street creds. I have a lot of creds, and I certainly have chops. So if somebody wants to challenge me on some of my arguments from a tech point of view, I have the chops in a big way. I can't tell you how many years of programming I've done, but I'm beyond supermaster, I think. I mean, it takes 10,000 hours to attain mastery, and I've, gone around the world multiple times on that. Okay? How many hours of programming have I done? It's certainly, I don't know, 100 times around that 10,000. I don't know, maybe more. So I've done all the kinds of programming in all kinds of levels. Hello, F1er. F1er, how are you doing? I've done, programming in all levels. It started off with enterprise systems. I worked with mainframes back in the day. IBM and UNIVAC and all that, and then went to microcomputers and have been doing commercial software that I designed completely in the commercial software world. And many of my products could be found in magazines and so on. And then I went to enterprise systems, and I'm one of the first inventors of electronic health records. One of the first 4 companies to develop electronic health records in the United States and the world, I guess. So I'm one of the first 4 to do that. And some of those companies are extremely big now. I'm no longer involved in that business. That was what I used to do. But right now I'm more focused on cybersecurity and educating you on privacy. So that's my focus now is a public interest technologist. Does Ubuntu Touch work on a T-Mobile Nexus 5? I don't know. This is a Nexus 5 and it's running T-Mobile. So what do you think? Ubuntu Touch, Nexus 5, T-Mobile. Does that answer the question? How does an algorithm ascertain the depth and technically challenging topics for your content? Marco Street, they recommend my content when I go into more detail. Otherwise, they don't recommend it. So the algorithm decides that they're not going to push my channel if I become... Let's say I talk about Google spying on you. Nothing happens. Let's say I talk about Facebook spying on you. No views. Let's say I talk about how to install Ubuntu Touch. Lots of views. How to use a Librem 5. Lots of views. Okay, there's going to be a video, a how-to video on how to install PostmarketOS using PM Bootstrap. It's going to be a very technical video tomorrow. It's going to come out tomorrow. It's already done. So you'll see that tomorrow. And again, very, very technical, although very short. And it will be a long-time reference, and it will be there, and it's already done. Now, the algorithm likes that. So I'm kind of forced to do that. What is the name of your health records program? You're not going to know that, Lakudos of Borg. You're not going to know that. And in some cases, the software was being sold by some other big names. So, it was OEM'd as well. So it was sold under our name and OEM'd. Okay. What time for the video? In the morning Pacific time, 9 a.m. Pacific. So that would be so if you're in Europe, so +8. So figure in the afternoon, later in the afternoon for people in Europe. They program AI to be biased. Enough said. Thank you, Marco Street. Okay, so let's talk about the Linux phone world in general and what's happening, because it's really hard if you haven't been following this closely. There's a lot of things going on, and I've been focused on Linux lately because this is at the moment the the two solutions we have for getting a little bit of safety on the phone side is to use a AOSP or Android open source like Lineage OS without gaps, without Google, being careful about apps, or having a Linux phone. But there's really something exciting about Linux on a phone because there's so many much more things you can do with this, and it's actually, for me, easier to program on the Linux phone because it's very similar to desktop. So I wrote one. I wrote like Brax Me that I put on the open store on Ubuntu Touch. That's written in PHP. The Catch MITM cybersecurity software I did, which does not run on Ubuntu Touch, but I'm gonna make it run on PostmarketOS. That's gonna be what was I saying? That's going to be in Python. That is in Python, and but it's written in Python GNOME, and so if I'm going to use KDE, then I may have to change that to using a toolkit called Qt or Qt, and that's not currently where it's written to, so I have to change that. And then so I already have a cybersecurity app. I can change Brax Me to change how Brax Me works on the Linux phone. I'm excited to do many things on the Linux phone. I can turn a PinePhone into a Brax router with LTE data, and that should be fairly easy to do. In fact, maybe in a week or so I can already test that, because I think LTE data already works. So I could probably do that and just do a test and run a Brax router, so that you have a portable. If you have a PinePhone, you stick a SD card in there, and you can have a LTE based, and your SIM card, LTE based Brax router. And if you're on T-Mobile, then you have unlimited. Okay, so that's the kind of things that you can do on Linux that I can't do on Android, because Android is a very very controlled environment. Will Pure OS work on the PinePhone? No one has tried that yet. And what they did instead, reads redactions, is they use PostmarketOS, and then on top of it they put Phosh. Phosh is the interface you see on a Librem 5, and that works, although it's buggy. So you can put Phosh on a PinePhone and run PostmarketOS. So understand the layers here on the Linux. This is something that you don't experience in Windows or Android, but in Linux you have to understand that there's the operating system, or the OS. If you at this point in time, you should know what an OS is. The operating system, like Windows, iOS, Android, Linux, are operating systems. But there are many versions of Linux operating systems. The one that you can use on a PinePhone is Ubuntu 16.04. That works on Ubuntu. on a PinePhone. And then you can use PostmarketOS, Manjaro. Those are three options. But that's just the OS, meaning if you boot the OS, it will boot. You'll get a command line. You'll just get a bash script. It's not going to do anything. So the layer you got to put on the OS is called a user interface, or UI. There has to be a mobile UI on the phone, and that's the interesting part. Fish shell or Phosh. Phosh is spelled Phosh. Phosh. Yeah, you pronounce it like Fosh, so it's Phosh. So it's spelled Phosh. So it's like phone sh. Phosh. Okay? That's one of the UIs, user interfaces, that you can put on top of the base Linux, in this case PostmarketOS. So on Ubuntu Touch has two layers. You put Ubuntu 16.04, and on top of that you load Ubuntu Touch. So everything has, two layers on it. The OS, this is on Linux only. You put the OS and then the user interface. That's how it's built on Linux. So you can use any user interface on any platform. For example, if you're using PostmarketOS, you can use Fosh from Librem, from Purism. You can use Plasma Mobile from KDE. You can use Nemo from Sailfish. Well, it's not from Sailfish, and it's taken from the. Okay, let's see if it recovered. Hold on. Checking see if it recovered. Okay, am I back? Did it recover? Okay, good. Sorry. I actually forgot to plug in the computer. The computer wasn't plugged in. So I didn't notice. It just, the battery died because the computer was not plugged in. I thought it was plugged in and it wasn't. So, okay. So sorry about that. So come on back. Sorry about that. Don't see Nexus 5 in store. What store are you talking about? I don't have any stock of a Nexus 5. I have to put a pre-order quantity on there. I don't have a Nexus 5 right now. When I order something, I'll put it on pre-order. I don't have stock right now. So I have to find stock. Your barometer is cut off. You want to see more of the barometer. Okay, so back to what we're talking about. And yes, sorry about that. I hope you didn't hit the dislike button because the broadcast failed. As a starter, easiest thing to get started is Python. Python is built in and out of everything. You can run Python on any version of Linux. You can run Python on a Windows. You can run Python on a Mac. It's all built in, so if you want to learn, that's easiest. But it's more than that. But it's probably a good way to start. At least you feel like you're doing something. Okay, so yes, Python. Okay, back to what we're talking about. So in order to use Linux on a phone, and this is really important to my topic tonight, is there are two aspects to it, and one is the OS itself, which is different from the user interface. So Ubuntu Touch is made up of Ubuntu, the distro, Ubuntu 16.04, and then I'm not going to get a Librem 15 laptop. I have a different Linux laptop. So Ubuntu Touch is placed over Ubuntu, the distro. Ubuntu Touch is compatible only with Ubuntu 16.04 at the moment. So it's more tied in than the other platforms. Now, in contrast, if you install, let's say, PostmarketOS, which is an OS, it's based on Alpine Linux, so it's a fork of Alpine Linux with a bunch of things they do there. It's very interesting. A bunch of Chroots it's called. So PostmarketOS, which I'm playing with right now, I'm going to do a lot of videos on PostmarketOS. If you want to play with Linux on a mobile device, the best one to play with is PostmarketOS. It's available on many, like a Nexus 5. Many devices will run PostmarketOS, at least to boot it, and then you can play with it. So if you have an old phone, you may be able to load PostmarketOS on it, even though you may not be able to make calls. Now, so on top of the Linux distro, you can then put the UI. So PostmarketOS can load Fosh, can load Plasma Mobile from KDE, and whoever comes up with more. There's a Neon, which I'm not familiar with. So all of those, there's Loon OS. I think, I don't know what the OS used by Loon OS is. I don't know if that can be run over. I think they have their own OS. So yeah, I think Loon OS has their own OS, which is also Linux based, but it's not the same as PostmarketOS. Now, what is interesting about PostmarketOS, which is why I like it as a development platform, is PostmarketOS is mainline. It uses the current version of Linux. So it can use, like, for example, the PinePhone uses the pretty much close to the latest kernel, the latest Linux kernel, and most of the programs on it are whatever is available in Linux today on any distro. So that gives an advantage when you're doing development, because you don't have to worry about compatibilities with old stuff. You can just worry about making it work today, because all the new stuff. So PostmarketOS is great for doing development work. I'm going to do lots of videos on it to play with my PinePhone and see what I can do with it, even if I don't need to do calling. The calling, somebody else can work on the calling. I believe the calling can be made to work from a command line, but there's some audio routing things you got to figure out. So it's a little bit tedious. I think you can text from the command line on it. I think you can use LTE data. You can use Wi-Fi, and can't recall if the camera works already on PostmarketOS. So all this is now running on PostmarketOS, but it's enough for me to play, because if I have LTE data and Wi-Fi, I can play. And I love to play, and I'm going to make videos for some of you who are more interested on the programming side and learning that on a deeper level. I'm your guy. I'm going to go show you some programming. Okay? But not just any normal programming. We're going to show you programming on a Zucking mobile Linux device. I'm going to be a specialist here on YouTube. I'll be the programming guy go-to for Linux devices. And the reason I want to do this is because, as I see now, Linux devices are best for privacy. All the software can be free and open source. I have my own software that runs on Linux on the Ubuntu Touch Open Store. It is open source. It's called Brax.me. Brax Me runs full screen now on Linux on the Open Store on Ubuntu Touch, and it's encrypted. And somebody asked me today, like, what is the protocol used for the chat and all that? Brax Me is a pretty elaborate app. It has everything on it. Everything from live streaming to file storage to social sharing, and I mean, everything is in there. When you're a new user, the only thing you see on Brax is typically just the chat, but it's very elaborate. It's pretty much as elaborate as Facebook is, but without the large numbers of users. So can you initiate a call from terminal in Linux on a phone? Yes, you can do it on PostmarketOS. Yes. I think you have to do some things to hear the audio, however. You may have to funnel it through a speaker or external speaker or something, maybe on headphones. So yes, there's a problem on the audio that hasn't been solved yet, but I believe it can call. Texting runs fine. I can demonstrate that next week. I'll play with it and run some test programs, and then we can see what works, what doesn't work. This is actually good news. Since you cannot at the moment turn on Wi-Fi and all that from the user interface, Plasma Mobile and Fosh and so on, when you're using PostmarketOS, but you can do it by command line, which means they just have to make the hook, meaning they haven't just finished putting the software to change the commands to say, how do you turn on Wi-Fi? They have to put the commands matching the buttons on the UI. So that's just needs time. Somebody just has to sit and do it. Obviously, no one's done it yet because they probably just got their PinePhone today. So if they just got their PinePhone, don't rush them. It's going to happen soon. It's easy. Most of it is already running. So a month from now, a lot of this is going to work. Okay. There was only 4 medical programs used in that era. This list would narrow down who robbed. No, you're not going to narrow down Hawaii Dealer. You're only going to narrow down companies. And our company name changed. You can't narrow it down that way. The name of the company was different. It's the same company, but the name of the company, well, actually, no. The corporation changed. It's the same people, but the name of the company changed, Hawaii Dealer, from when there were 4 companies doing it. So yeah, you're not gonna go discover that. So yeah, Bill Gates demonstrated my product, but it was on the old name, not the new name. So it's gonna be interesting to see. Besides, it doesn't have my name on it. It's just the name is just the name of the corporation. So, should I download a new image to update PostmarketOS? No, Mark R. Watch my video tomorrow. You can update PostmarketOS daily using the video that I will have tomorrow. You can update it daily. Okay? It's something you can do every day. It doesn't take long. It's on my video tomorrow morning. The video is already there. Okay, the video's already there. I am not in that business anymore, Hawaii Dealer, and I hid myself well. So in the early stages, I did a lot of speeches and stuff, and then later on, I just hid myself. Fake name, Mr. Fake Name, how are you doing? Mark R, watch my video. I will show you how to install PostmarketOS. Do not rely on the image that they put in the other video that I put in, because that's a week old already. It changes daily. So if you want a daily update, you need to follow that one from yesterday. Okay? So and then that will be your first introduction to using PostmarketOS. So you can actually take that and play with it and do other things with it. Because once you know how to put PostmarketOS on a PinePhone, then what stops you from putting it on a Nexus 5, OnePlus One, or whatever device they happen to support, Raspberry Pi. I'll put it on Raspberry Pi, see what happens. So, this is so cool that I can write a program, put it on a Raspberry Pi, and have it work. I mean, that's super cool. So that's kind of the stuff I want to do, and you'll see on this channel more starting this coming few weeks. So I'm going to go into a lot of tech detail to focus more on heavy Linux programming. Okay, so should be fun to do SMS from CLI. Yes, I'll do that in next week's video. The only problem is I'm doing a John McAfee interview next week, so that'll interfere with my schedule. So I do have a John McAfee interview. So I'll try to release the videos before I release the John McAfee interview. So probably release the John McAfee interview, I don't know, maybe next Sunday. I got to find time to edit that. So maybe next Sunday I'll post a John McAfee interview. Can you send SMS from email? You can send SMS from... Yeah, it's no fun, Iron Fist. That is no fun. Then you have to use email. No. Yes, so I'm going to do a lot of CLI stuff. Yes, command line. For those of you who don't know what CLI is, it's command line. So part of what you're going to see in the first video tomorrow is command line use of PostmarketOS. And then what I'll do is maybe do command line and do some simple Python programs to take the command line and demonstrate it in some sort of graphics. I'm a very fast programmer. I can do all that in no time. I'm an expert. I can do things very, very quickly. I could probably make a website. You can load a website. You can maybe load a browser on your PinePhone and then use that as an interface. That should work without needing anything else. So I can put in PHP, then you can run. That should be easy. Put a website on your PinePhone and then give you a little interface to do texting right from there. Yeah, I should be able to do that. So my focus next week is to play with the devices using CLI or command line, so that we investigate how to use PostmarketOS. I think this is kind of, if some of you are interested in this kind of tech detail, you may not want to do it, but it's kind of going to be interesting to see what you can do. It will incite your imagination to think about what things you could do on a phone that has Linux in it. I mean, I'm telling you the possibilities. I'm going to tell you that I did a video today about Ubuntu Touch. And Ubuntu Touch is for me, usable as a phone UI for basic things that I need to do on the phone. But one of the beauties of Linux is that it's the same operating system as a desktop. So in theory, you can write any kind of programs you want as long as you make it small so it fits the screen. And you can do any kind of code, and you can take even existing code on the internet and just redo the size of the screen, and you'll be able to run on Linux. Unfortunately, if you watch, and please watch that video I did today on Ubuntu Touch, unfortunately, it is not something you can do easily on Ubuntu Touch. So Ubuntu Touch is not, in my opinion, it's not the platform for doing that kind of work and that kind of development, at least not yet. It may be in a few months, but at the moment, and they're heading to a way where it can. At the moment, think of this as a locked box right now, and that's really, the people from PinePhone, from Ubuntu Touch really want to lock this down, and if they want to lock it down, then lock it down. Then we'll move to something else. So use this as a lockdown device. That's my recommendation, and all you need to do is have something that can run Linux fully on a phone, a full Linux like PostmarketOS. And if there's a working UI, then in theory, a user interface, if there's a working, let's say Fosh or Plasma Mobile starts running on it, then it's going to be really usable as a phone, and then you can make your own programs and load it there, and maybe it'll be a community of people that can actually take even existing Linux programs and just change the interface. For example, I've already tried running Wireshark. Actually runs on Ubuntu Touch. I got it to run. You have to use the thing called Libertine container. It's obviously unusable because the screen is, very small. But the app I built is kind of a mini version, limited version of what Wireshark does, and it's kind of handy because using my software, you can actually do some quick cybersecurity scanning of your network to see if there's some bad guys on there, and you can use it on at Starbucks, and you can use it on airport. You can do things like that to kind of like get a sense of your environment in a public network. And that app is what I wrote, and it does not run on Ubuntu Touch at the moment unless I change it to character base. And I can't get it to run on this because of the limitations of Ubuntu Touch. I bet you I can make it run on PostmarketOS. So even if I just get that running on PostmarketOS, I'm going to have so much fun because I already wrote it. It's already written. If I can run it on PostmarketOS and just show you, then if you have a PinePhone, it wouldn't be neat to be able to insert an SD card with PostmarketOS with my software on it, and you can do cybersecurity stuff using PostmarketOS, and as time goes by, then maybe PostmarketOS will be able to make phone calls and texts and do things like that. So the more things are possible. This is a Nexus 5, but I'm going to do development on a PinePhone, which should have been here already, but we'll wait. Maybe I'll get it tomorrow. My PinePhone is in LA. It's been in LA for at least 2 days. Why it's not at my doorstep, I have no idea. But it's been in LA for 2 days. So like Zuck, it crossed the country in a day, but it's in LA. It takes them 2 days to get it to me. Where do you post my source? On GitHub. Fake name. It's on GitHub. Come on, man. It's all over the place. I have it on so many videos. GitHub, Rob Braxman, GitHub. It's all on there. Action Potato, hello. How long before Apple and friends start a price war to kill Pine and Librem 5? Is it likely? No, it is not likely. No, they sell. These guys sell Android, Samsung, and all these guys. They sell 2 billion phones a year. 2 billion. PinePhone sold 3,000 in the first batch. Let's say Librem 5 sells 10,000 for the year. PinePhone intends to sell at least 50,000 a year. It's a drop in the bucket. It's nothing. So if there are even close to 100,000 Linux phones by the end of the year, that is nothing. Nothing. Now, a lot of people are using devices like these older Androids, converting them to Linux. And I'm going to guess there's, are there even 10,000 people using this? My guess is no. My guess is the number of people using these old phones with Ubuntu Touch is definitely, it could be as few as 3,000. I'm sure there's more people on Brax than me. There's more people on my channel here than are using Ubuntu Touch. But I'm trying to change that. I'm promoting it. It's because it's the only option I have. I'm going to promote what works. Okay, if you want Lineage OS, it works too, and it's a little smoother in the sense that it looks like Android. But psychologically, I am not, as comfortable. I can, if you want to get a Nexus 5 and you want me to install Lineage OS on it without Google Apps, that's fine too. I can do that. So I can do that. I mean, it doesn't matter. Those options are good. But the idea of putting a true Linux operating system on a PinePhone is completely different because I can make my own code that I can't do on Ubuntu Touch. Certainly not on Android. Android will never approve the kind of apps I'm making for cybersecurity because it can be used offensively. Okay? You want to sell me your Nexus 5 finer e-tails? 5X is not supported. You're not going to be able to run any Linux with 5X. Only the Nexus 5 has Linux support. The 5X is different enough that no one's gotten that to run. Okay? So anyway, I'm putting all my code out in the open. It's open source, so it's on my GitHub. And if you don't think I know how to program, go look at my code. Okay? So some of you are saying this guy, he's like, egotistical. He acts like he knows everything. I don't know everything, but I probably know more than you, whoever you are. There aren't too many people at my level, obviously, because I've been doing it for a long time. How many hours have I put into this? 500,000 hours? I don't know. It's supposed to gain mastery at 10,000 hours. I've lost, how many hours? So let's say, I don't know. I could be, I could be close to 1 million hours. I don't know. I've been doing this a long time. I do this, 100 hours a week on every language imaginable. What language haven't I worked with? I work with every language. I've written every kind of code you can imagine. I wrote my own email server, email client, web server, server communications, inter-process, internet-based inter-process communications. I've done everything. I've done medical. I've done work with every device. I was doing software for touch in 1992, before even touch was used on a phone. In the 2000s, 20 years later. So I was doing it, way ahead. So what is that? 15 years later. Yeah. So I was doing it 15 years ahead. So, uh, yes, I am able. I'm able to learn anything. Can have to you try putting Kali? No, Kali is not going to run on a Kali is not going to run. But you can load Kali apps on PostmarketOS. So you have to understand the difference between the OS and the apps. You don't need Kali on a PinePhone. You don't need Kali. If you can load PostmarketOS on a Nexus 5, you can run Kali apps. Now, can you see the apps? No, they're too tiny, or you have to use command line. So somebody needs to make like user interfaces for them. But yes, you can run any kind of Kali app on some distro of Linux. Doesn't have to be Kali. So let's say you want to run Airmon or one of those, okay? So if you want to like run Airmon on a command line, could you do it on PostmarketOS? The answer is yes. Okay. Can I install Linux on Samsung device type A5? You're gonna have to check PostmarketOS. Is probably the most expanded list, and see what devices. I think you can boot PostmarketOS on I think about 100 devices, but it doesn't mean that it can do phone things. But at least you can boot it. So if you have an old phone, you may be able to do Linux things on it to some degree, like run Kali apps and things like that on an older phone. So you should be able to do that. What is my favorite programming language? I don't know if I have a favorite. I mean, I've done C++ programming for most of my life. So, in terms of percentage of time spent, I would say 90% C++. Thank you, King Joffy. Thank you very much. I would say that 90% would be C++, but nowadays I'd more likely do something in Python because it's faster. So I do a lot of PHP. All my server stuff is PHP, so I do a lot of PHP. But I just use everyone. If you want to use Java, I don't normally do a lot of Java. So Java is not my preferred platform, so I don't do a lot of Java. I use PHP instead, and on a client programming that's not server-based, I'm going to use Python. So it's just easier. Just asking, still learning InfoSec. Yeah, that's the other thing that my InfoSec knowledge is obviously very advanced, and I'm telling you that when I talk InfoSec here, you're talking to somebody who I'm a hacker. So I mean, there's no doubt I know how to hack. I am not a script kiddie. I can write hacking code in C. Okay, so does this guy know? Yes, I can write IP spoofing scripts in C. So I understand it at that level. So if you don't think I know what I'm talking about, yes, I've done it, long time ago. When the internet first started, I was already doing all that stuff. So, never mind Java. Nobody likes it. Well, corporations like it. What will happen to GPRS, 2G, 3G after they phase out connectivity? Will do-it-yourself community be able to use them? Yeah, you can actually use... this is very funny, Jellyfish. This is a very, very, very funny point. You can use something called Osmocom BB. The other one is OpenBTS. And using average everyday radios with big antennas, which are widely available. If you're in a rural town in, let's say, India, you can create your own cell network. Yeah. Let's say you're in, what's a very remote area? Is Timbuktu even a remote nowadays? Let's say you're in some remote area, okay? Maybe Timbuktu is no longer remote, but you know, some place in Mongolia somewhere, okay, some little town in Mongolia, and you want to create your own private phone network, private, that only will be accessible by people in those networks. You can. You can. Now, I think you need approval from the equivalent of the FCC in the area, but other than that, technically, you can do it. Yeah. You have to governments sell those frequencies, so they might say, well, we're not going to give it to you. You got it, you can do it as a kind of a rogue station, but yes, you can. I can run a BTS, a base station. That's what a base station is called, BTS. I can run I have the software and hardware here. I can run a base station for you. It's just, I actually was going to do it on my videos, and I said, I got caught up with Linux, so I'm not doing it, but I can do that. So, but I don't like using other people's software and doing that for videos. I'd rather do my own software, demonstrate it for you, and so that you can see something unique rather than just showing you that I can use OpenBTS or Osmocom BB. There's a guy that does that very well. His name is the Danish Hacker. The Danish Hacker. He's pretty he's very good at that. He's actually specialized in demonstrating hacking software using OpenBTS, Osmocom BBS, stuff like that, using the same hardware that I use. So he has those hardware things, and that's what he focuses on, and it's a very good channel to follow. The Danish Hacker. I follow him. I don't think he knows about me, but Danish Hacker. He doesn't have that. How many subscribers does he have? Under 50K. So it's not a big channel, but bigger than my channel, but I'm getting there. So maybe I'll catch up to him by next year. So this year, after 1 year of doing YouTube, I'm gonna be I'm close to 10,000 now. So so maybe next year I'm gonna shoot for 100,000. Let's shoot for 100,000 subscribers, guys, so that I can actually survive doing this. It's pretty hard to do without any kind of income. So I told you how much money I made from this last month. I made $140. Awesome! Big bucks. Directions to flash update Nexus 5 to LTE are on Rob's info. Fake name, how'd you work out for them? Feds go to the guy who set it up and heard everything. Cartels made their own in Mexico. They could, yeah. Bumzuck Egypt, what does that mean? Wakanda is remote. There you go. Wakanda can, besides, Wakanda is kind of a secret location. It's perfect for a private cell phone. They don't need to worry about, they don't need to worry about cell service. So yes, Wakanda will be great. So you can use open. So if you want to start your own cell phone company in Wakanda, all you need is Osmocom BBS, and you're fine. You can start your own cell. So you can actually, think about it like in a campus, like business campus. You can set up a test base station. The FCC might get you though, but if it's not too strong of a signal, they may not notice it. And you can use a frequency that's not used, so they don't notice. Well, they'll notice, but maybe they won't care. And then you can say, okay, for our business, we're going to use these old flip phones and use them as our cell station for the area, and that's something you can do. I don't know how it went. Heard about it. What did I miss here? Okay. So anyway, so next week what I'm going to do is begin work on PostmarketOS And Martin Brom from the Netherlands is one of the main guys at PostmarketOS, and he's helping me to understand PostmarketOS, and I appreciate the help he gives. And so Martin Brom from hope I'm pronouncing that right because it's spelled in a Dutch kind of a way. So Martin Brom from Netherlands is the main guy with PostmarketOS, and you can also follow him on YouTube. He has some videos showing all of his experiments with all the different things with PostmarketOS. So I'm gonna take that kind of raw stuff and put into something more visual, and perhaps take it to the next step. So would hams pick up the phased out cell network frequencies? Hams could use, I think that some frequencies can be used by hams, yes. Yeah, some frequencies, if you have a ham license, we have access to some frequencies, yes. So that is possible, but everyone who operates it has to be a ham. So, a lot of hams do testing with OpenBTS and all that, and I'm really glad to be a ham. It's my understanding of radio comes from ham. That's why my knowledge of phones is a little bit more advanced than most. It's because I'm a ham radio. I'm a ham radio guy. I do have a general license. I need to get my extra license, then then I can show off and say, hey, I know a lot. But general license is good enough for now. I don't have time. I was going to take the test, but it takes a lot of study, and I didn't have time. And I said, I don't know if I have time to do this. So I set the ham aside. I do not talk. You can't hear me on the airwaves on ham because I like more radio experimentation. I'm not really. I don't have time to go CQ all day, so it's not really my specialty. My specialty is using radio frequency that I'm licensed to. To use for experimentation, and that is my best use of my ham radio. Okay, just curious, you give people useful knowledge on YouTube, you get $140. A bimbo shows her yes, for Ciencia ad Astra. That is the world. So anyway, but I do have products and I get supported by these. So Brax router, turn your house into a VPN by trunking your entire internet, or at least part of your internet, wiring it into a VPN wired router. This is also a Wi-Fi router, but when you put a dongle to this, it turns into a wired router. So you can trunk your internet in your house to a VPN, which simplifies life because you do not have to put any software, any device, including IoT devices. They automatically use a VPN. And the other thing about the advantage of VPN is if you put your traffic through VPN, then you're automatically firewalled. So since no one can attack you back through the VPN, since there's no addressing for that, so they can't attack you. They can't, if your cameras are on a VPN, no one can go run your cameras from remote. I don't know if you knew that. Did you know that? Because the VPN has no routing code to route back to the camera. There's no, it's called port forwarding. It doesn't exist on a VPN. We don't do any kind of port forwarding. So there is no way to actually specify a port on the VPN and have it go back to your camera. So it's pretty much impossible on a VPN to control any device that's connected to the VPN, like your home cameras and so on. So that's why you have to really seriously think about upgrading your security in your house by using wired routers. And again, for those of you who are understanding the dangers of having a cell phone, consider getting one of these. This is a Nexus 5, and you can install Ubuntu Touch on here. I use this every day. This is my main phone, and most of the features that I need to be concerned with works. So this is fine for me, and I can install it for you for $99. So I buy the phone around $70. I charge you $99 to install the software and configure it for you, and then I ship it. And so it's around, with shipping, it's around 173 or something. I forget, something like that, 173. And then you have a Linux phone, and it's configured, and then you don't have to do anything, and it's all set. So what doesn't work on a Nexus 5 for using Ubuntu Touch? The using Bluetooth for phone. Bluetooth works for audio in general, but it doesn't work for phone use. So you can't have a conversation using Bluetooth in a car. That doesn't work. And the only other major bug that I'm aware of is video recording. You can play videos, you can play YouTube, all that, but you can't record video. Cameras work fine, pictures work fine, just not recording video. So that's the only thing that doesn't work on it. And this is a lot better option than using a flip phone. So if you're saying, I want to be safe and I'm going to use a BlackBerry Bold 9900, it doesn't have internet connectivity like a normal phone. I can use a browser. I can use Brax.me. I can go to YouTube. I can do normal things on this using the browser and whatever apps are installed on there. There's navigation in UNav, and one of the killer apps on a Ubuntu Touch phone is called Cloud Music. Now, what's Cloud Music? Free zucking cloud music that you can even download to your phone. It's zucking free. I don't know how they do it. It's free. Okay, and everything that's, it's like, it has 99% of all the tunes out there, and it's free, and you can actually download it to cache on your phone. So if you don't have internet, you can even play it in your car. And it works. So, and it's a safest solution phone that I have. It's, I can't tell you anything safer than this. This is about the safest you can get. And it's very easy to download your music to this. Just plug in a USB to your computer, and you actually see the drive, and you can copy your music over if you want to do it from another source. So very easy to do. So anyway, I don't have this in stock. I'll have to buy some stock and do some pre-orders. So the stock I had from last week, I announced this last week, and you guys pre-ordered, and now it's gone. So I know some of you want to pre-order, and I don't have any in stock right now. So it's kind of on a week-by-week basis. Does that work on Android? No. This is an Android phone originally. Yes. So the one that I recommend for doing this is a Nexus 5. Are there encrypted messaging apps on the phone I sell? Yes, Brax Me, for goodness sakes. And it does run Telegram. Telegram, Brax Me work on this. So you have at least two. There's more. It runs Matrix as well. You just got your PinePhone. Lucky for you, and mine is not here yet. Where's my profile on GitHub? My gosh, come on, fake name. Rob Braxman. Oh, you mean why I don't have a pic on there? Why do I need to? Should I? Cloud Music is amazing, but I found it bugged as hell and not updated for long. I don't know. Cloud Music seems to work for me. No Signal, I don't believe, and certainly no WhatsApp, no Wicker. Why would you want that? So, but Brax Me is there, and it's on the open store, and Telegram it's called teleports. They have a port of Telegram called teleports. So I don't like using Telegram, but it's very similar to the features of Brax Me. But I use Brax Me because I wrote it. That's the only place I really talk is Brax Me. So I don't really like using a platform where I have to give my phone number. Does it work well with all phone carriers? Yes, it does. Well, it's a SIM card phone, so it's best with AT&T and T-Mobile and their resellers. So AT&T, T-Mobile, it's not a CDMA phone. It's a GSM phone. So AT&T, T-Mobile. So if I buy stock, I typically would get it cheaper than you can get it because I got some contacts. When they find stock, I get it cheaper. If you went on eBay, you probably can't get it for the price I'm getting these. So I'm selling it to you pretty much cheaper than you can get them. So because you kind of get a benefit because I'm installing it for you. Because it's my competitor. Why use Wicker? So I mean, why do I care to want to use Wicker? Wicker's my competitor. The ex-CEO of Wicker wanted to be on the board of directors of Brax Me. I can tell you that. Where do you stand on right to repair legislation? I'm not into legislation, but right to repair is something that we need to have. Yeah. Does it work with Zucking Zuckbook? Yes, actually, yes. You can. Yes, you can work. Why you would want it, I don't know. Maybe in Wakanda they like Facebook, but if you want to get zucked, yes, use a browser. You can call any website on a browser. There's a built-in web app for all of those, including I don't load the Facebook web app for it, but I load Wicker. I load Twitter, YouTube, Google Maps, things like that. I preload it on the phone, so that's available. Do you think one should expect bad latencies with Bytes VPN in Italy? Yeah, it's not going to be super fast, but the two regions are on the coast, so facing you. So it may not be too bad, but the Galvano, the advantage of Bytes VPN is that you appear to be in America. So it'll specifically be make you look like you're in America. So if you're accessing like U.S. websites, it'll be very fast since it's in the U.S. So if you want to access YouTube and all that, it will be very fast for U.S. use. For U.S. Content. So anything that's U.S. content, it doesn't matter that it's far away because you're going to the U.S. content anyway. Yes, hello again, Kelp. Why would anyone use Zuckbook exactly? Have you used Anbox and Ubuntu Touch? No, I have not used Anbox. I don't think I want to use Anbox and Ubuntu Touch. It doesn't really work well. I don't know if it works well in none of what Action Potato, but I bet you it'll work fine in Wakanda. I bet you it'll work in Wakanda. So, anyway, Anbox, in case you don't know what Anbox is a Android container. In case you don't know how a Android app works, I'm going to explain it to you. So, Android is actually running an older Linux kernel. So the base is kind of like Linux because it uses a Linux kernel. But they hid that from you. So Google wants you to make sure that you don't know that Linux is running on there, even though it is Linux kernel. It's not GNU Linux. That's a whole different story. It's not GNU. There's nothing, maybe they copied some things from GNU, but it is not a GNU platform. So when I say Linux, I mean GNU Linux, and Android is not GNU. Okay? But it uses a Linux kernel. Now, Now, what happens is the way Android apps run, they don't run natively in using Linux stuff. It doesn't work like that. The way that they control you on Android is they run in an interpreter environment that takes it's called Dalvik. The interpreter is called Dalvik, and it takes the Java that you originally write in it's a Java interpreter, and you package it into a certain kind of compiled microcode, and it's based on Java, and the microcode is then installed on your device as this APK, and it runs in this environment built into Android called Dalvik. Okay, I hope I pronounced that right. Because I sometimes I get dyslexic and say Dalvik, whatever. So anyway, you get on an Android machine, you're not allowed to run outside of Dalvik. Every APK file runs in Dalvik. No one actually gets to run under Linux. No app runs under Linux normally. So the Google App Store, they control that so that you don't run any app under Linux unless you go root the device and you go write your own stuff and put it on there. But in general, you do not write under Linux in an Android. In fact, they don't give you space, so they make sure you don't do anything. So the only space they give you is to run inside the virtual machine that is Dalvik. And the virtual machine only runs one thing. It runs the microcode version of Dalvik of Java. So when you make an Android app, you write in Java, and it interacts with the Dalvik interpreter. Okay, and the new one is not called Dalvik anymore, but it's the same kind of thing. So somebody then took that code from Dalvik and I think the original one was open source, and then Google changed that and came up with their own version, but it's still somewhat compatible with old stuff, and the old stuff was turned into Anbox. So in theory, on a Linux box, just like Android, you can run this Dalvik interpreter, and they call it Anbox. But because of compatibility issues, it doesn't, it's not made for newer versions of APK files. And it has many compatibility and compile issues that it's kind of a pain to set up. So it doesn't work in all environments. So Anbox is the way to turn your Linux into running the same interpretive code of Java that Android does. Okay, so it's kind of like running a virtual machine inside Linux. So that's called Anbox. So in theory, you could run Anbox on Linux if it, very few people get it to work. It's quite difficult to get it to work. It does not run on PostmarketOS. It's very difficult for it to get to work. Okay, I think Sailfish OS got theirs to work. So Sailfish OS comes up with their own version of Dalvik, and they charge you a fee to use their version of Dalvik on Sailfish OS. The version without Dalvik is free. But if you want to run an Android app on a Linux phone, you can only do so in the EU if you install Sailfish OS. And Sailfish OS currently mostly runs on a Sony Xperia X. So I checked the prices on Sony Xperia X's, and they're around 120, 130 bucks. So they're kind of a more expensive option, and then you have to pay for the OS if you use the paid version, which is probably another 150. So you're up there with Sailfish OS. So for that reason, I haven't used it. And besides, I don't have a Sony Xperia X. Anbox without navigation keys is just an insane pain. So don't even try Anbox. It's pain. I'm going to stick with FreeBSD. Have fun. Have fun with FreeBSD, but it's not going to work on my PinePhone. So I just can't stomach this YouTube comment section. It's designed for monologue. No, it's designed. It's not designed for you, Kelp. Clearly. Designed for monologue. It is no different than anything else. I get as many comments here as I do on YouTube, on Periscope without the comments disappearing. The comments don't disappear, so I don't have to respond immediately since I can read the comments, an hour later. Is net neutrality a good thing or bad as far as... I don't think net neutrality is something you need to concern yourself with. Okay? I wouldn't worry about a Locutus or Borg. I think that it's not important. If they implemented things related to net neutrality, I could find ways around it. So it would be not a concern to me. Okay? So, and people had fear about it, and obviously, years later, nothing happened. Okay, so when is your PinePhone coming in? I am hoping that I can do a unboxing video by Sunday. I am hoping, and because I already have SD cards for Fosh, for Plasma Mobile, for Ubuntu Touch, and the factory. So I already have 4 SD cards ready for it, and I want to show you the internals of it. Because some of you want to see, the internals, like the switches. Not germane. What is not germane, Locutus? Why aren't you on Periscope? Somebody complained to me that every time I use Periscope, the South VPN stops. So I said, well, what's the point? There's really no advantage to being on Periscope. Most of my viewers are here. And I told you that we are approaching 10,000. The numbers are actually higher than what you see on my channel. Yeah, I'm close to 10,000. I'm going to be at 10,000 soon. So I was at 9,100 a moment ago. I will try Manjaro ARM. Yeah, but that only works on PinePhone. It doesn't work on the Nexus 5. Although I don't know why I need to specifically try Manjaro, because there's no UI for it on a phone. So what's the difference between that and using PostmarketOS? So PostmarketOS is probably the same kind of thing. FreeBSD may have an ARM project fake name, but of course it has an ARM project. That should be obvious. But it doesn't have a mobile community. So it's not going to work on mobile, so what's the point? Okay, I subbed this second. Thank you, Nimraj. Nimraj35, sub this second. Please hit that like button so we get this algorithm to appreciate this channel. The decision to appreciate this channel is based on the algorithm. You guys may like my content, but until we convince the algorithm to like the channel, then nothing happens. So hit that like button if you like my content. If not, then you don't have to. I was saying that net is not germane privacy free, and thanks for yes, it's not germane to privacy, yes, and nothing had really happened to it. People said, oh, this will happen, that will happen, but no, it's not going to happen. Because there are technical reasons for that. That's why I never worried about it. Okay? Technical reasons why net neutrality wasn't an issue. If somebody thinks you can partition traffic and say, I'm going to, only promote certain kinds of traffic, they don't know how the internet works. So, yeah, the internet kind of stops that kind of thing. Okay, so anyway, getting back to the phone situation and what I told you I'm going to be working on, delving deep into my PinePhone and to command line exploration. So that's going to be my next phase, command line exploration of a PinePhone. I'm doing command line exploration of Ubuntu Touch. I've done that. I've spent a lot of this thing during the day. This phone is attached to my computer with a USB cable. So I'm doing SSH, not SSH, but I have shell access to this phone all day. I'm like looking at the code, looking at the internals of Linux on this Nexus 5. So I am enjoying that, but it's going to be fun to have more freedom to do it on PostmarketOS. So again, to tell you what's going on in the Linux world, there are OSs, Linux OSs, and to name some of them, that are phone compatible or going to be phone compatible. We have PostmarketOS, Ubuntu 16.04, and maybe newer versions of Ubuntu may support it, because Debian supports the CPU of a PinePhone. They have one called Armbian that supports it, and it should boot. It should boot on a PinePhone. There's Manjaro, and there's some custom ones, the ones used by LunaOS, whatever their unique distro is of Linux. Those are just the operating system that will get you a command prompt on the phone. It doesn't give you any kind of interface. So for the interface, you have to now say, well, what's the interface on the phone to use so you can touch it? What is a touch interface? So there are different groups. The first group, PostmarketOS, is on the OS side. All they do is make the OS run, make sure they have the drivers for the phone, the Bluetooth, the Wi-Fi, the calling, phone, it's called for the calling, the texting, LTE data, all that, camera access. So the hardware stuff is being done by the OS makers, such as PostmarketOS and in theory Manjaro and all that. But PostmarketOS and Ubuntu Touch are the ones that have running hardware connections. The user interface are different companies. So Ubuntu Touch is one user interface that's packaged with the OS, so that's tightly integrated. But the other one is Phosh. Phosh is made by Purism. It's made for the Librem 5, but because it's open source, someone ported it to a PinePhone, and it needs some work, but at least, it can be done because it's there. Somebody has to work on it. Okay? There's Plasma Mobile, and I believe there's Neon. Plasma Mobile is made by KDE, and there's Neon. I don't think those platforms are quite ready yet, but their interface is UI. So my point is, and then there's Sailfish OS and Luna OS. My point, which have their own distros of Linux plus their own user interface. So they're not working with PostmarketOS. They're separate OSs plus UI. So two pieces. What is the base OS distro? And then one is the UI. So that's a nice thing about this world here in 2020. There are many companies working on those different pieces. So the OS side is being worked on by one group of community, and then the UIs are being worked on by many, many companies. I just mentioned a few of them. KDE, which makes the KDE desktop, and Plasma Desktop, and which is used in many distros. And then there's Neon and Phosh, which is being made by Purism for the Librem 5. So in fact, if you say, well, I want to just revise whatever Purism did and just use that and come up with your own version, you could do that. You could fork Phosh and call it Brax. Maybe I'll make my own. I don't have time for this, but I could take Phosh, redo it, and call it Brax, and that could be the user interface. The point is, because it's open source, you can take anybody's work. You can't do it to Ubuntu Touch because it's tied to 1604, so you have to use one of the other ones. So you can do it to Plasma Mobile, you can do it to Fosh, you can do it to Neon, all these other ones. You can do it partially to Sailfish. So if you do this, you can see now that there's so many communities working on this. It's really exciting what can happen in a few months. Open source, where everyone, there'll probably be like 50 different everyone will fork these projects, and maybe by the end of the year there'll be 50 of them. You're going to get 50 options, kind of like Linux distros. You're going to get 50 options in UIs, user interfaces, and that's why this is kind of an exciting year. I mean, and it's about the communities building these. People are spending their time for free. They're not making money doing free software like me. I'll make all this free software. I'll make money from it. And so that's why you need to think about things that may benefit you from what I offer here. Like if you want a Nexus 5 phone, a Brax router, or my VPN, which is Bytes VPN, that would be good. It benefits you. It has benefit for you, but you're helping this channel. So, okay, so this is why this is kind of an exciting time. And yes, some of you got your PinePhone early, and unless you're a developer, you really can't use it yet. It's guys like me that need to have it. Guys like you are just a little bit ahead, Maybe in a couple of months you can use it. But for a moment, it's still for experimentation. It'll be the same hardware, though, so it's good. So for me, it's awesome. There's a lot of stuff I can do with it. Oh, my gosh. I'll be making like 50 videos from PinePhone. So I'm very, very happy to get it soon. What's your problem with distro? Maybe because you're in FreeBSD, there's only one distro. Yeah, see that, FreeBSD is FreeBSD, so they don't like distros. They don't have distros. Okay? So in Linux, everybody makes their own distro, and maybe somebody made their own. Well, Mac OS. Do you like Mac OS? That's a fork of FreeBSD. So if you like Mac OS, there you go. But PMOS can't make or receive calls on the PinePhones as of yet. Not correct. Locutus of Borg. The UI has no hooks to it. You can do a call on the command line, as demonstrated by Marius of UBports. Yes, you can do a command line call. There's a bit of a problem with the audio that they're trying to figure out, but I believe either you have to put a headset on or something. There's some audio routing issue, but it's but yes, and you can text on the command line. There's many things you can already do on the command line. You can run the Wi-Fi by command line. You can do the LTE on command line. And if you don't believe this to be true, Martin Braun from PostmarketOS gave me the instructions for doing so. So I can actually write software on LTE on a PinePhone starting when I get it. I have the instruction for doing it on a command line. So I can actually make software that will automatically start the services for LTE and all that and do it without you having to think about it and connect to Wi-Fi. And I can do that from the command line or maybe from some Python program I write. So I am excited by at what I can do with that. So I'm just introducing you to what some of the issues are with Linux phones. It's again, distro, uh, of the OS. So the OS first is a separate entity from the companies doing the UI. Know your history. Fork off next step. I don't know anything about FreeBSD fake name. You know what? I didn't do FreeBSD fake name. I did Unix. My experience has been in Unix. I don't know anything about FreeBSD. Don't ask me any FreeBSD question. You're the expert. I'm not. I don't know anything. Nothing about FreeBSD. But I did use Unix. I did some programming in Unix too. So there you go. So I can't imagine you're like pushing FreeBSD, but you're like ignoring Unix. Unix is dead, but Unix is dead. Oracle killed it. What can you do with a PinePhone that you can't do with the Nexus 5? That is a fun question, Midi Green. That is a fun question, and I will explain it to you. At the moment, the difference with a Nexus 5, that's a really good question, Midi Green, and you may not actually realize how good your question is. I don't know if you understand how, and I made watch the video Ubuntu Touch, video number 2 on Ubuntu Touch. I don't know if you realize this, but this is an Android phone. This is not a Linux phone. This is an Android phone. So, Linux is not the host here. The analogy I used is that this is the Android building and Ubuntu Touch is renting space. The building is owned by Android. Ubuntu Touch is just renting space. Okay, yes, Linux runs on here by interacting with Android. Actually, Android is running at the same time here. Ubuntu Touch is running here, right? But Android is also running simultaneously in a little container. So it's and it runs first. When this phone boots, the first thing it does is make sure the Android services are running, and it doesn't display the screen until after Android starts. So when you see the Ubuntu screen start, there's a delay. The delay is actually to wait for Android services to start. Once the Android services start, then it goes quietly into the night, and then it's never heard from again, and you're dealing with the Linux portion of it. Okay? Now, that is not the case with a PinePhone. A PinePhone is actually a PC. It's booting from a micro SD card straight to Linux. That's it. It's running. It's like installing a distro on your PC. There's a bootloader, loads up Linux directly. Nothing else. There's no Android on it. Nothing. That's the difference. And if you understand that difference, it means that a lot of the programming is a lot simpler in that environment because you're using standard Linux, GNU Linux distros, standard. Not standard in Ubuntu Touch, but if you're using PostmarketOS, it's a standard Linux distro. You can run any program that runs on Linux, GNOME or KDE or Chroot, it will run on PostmarketOS. So if you take PostmarketOS and say, I'm going to run Wireshark on this, straight from the command line, install it, on the command line. I don't know what the commands are from Alpine. It's not APT, so got to learn all those unique commands from installation on Alpine. But one more thing to learn. So I got to go learn all that. So, but it's easy. Then you learn, instead of APT, you use whatever they use. Somebody can tell me what they use. I don't know. I don't use Alpine, so I don't know. So that's it. And then you're in Linux. You can run any program on a PinePhone. You may not have access to the cell data, but I can tell you can get access to it by command line. Can you imagine writing any kind of code, to do anything on a PinePhone and accessing the cell data directly without needing anything else? My goodness, you can make little spy devices. You can, have this be spying on somebody. I mean, there's some little gadgets. You can attach a PinePhone to a sucking robot. Do you understand that? It has LTE data in a small platform, cheap. $150 computer has a display, everything on it. Attach it to a sucking robot using the USB-C ports to control devices, and it has LTE on it. It doesn't even need a user interface. This is like, do BSD games? I don't know if BSD games run on a PinePhone, but any Linux thing will work if they're made for the form factor of the small screen. It's more of a question of small screen size. So, for example, there's support of Pac-Man. So Pac-Man runs on Linux. So you just need to run it on a small device. So mostly the issues are, can you run any, let me rephrase that. Can you run any Linux app on a PinePhone as far as basic services are concerned? Screen, keyboard, not necessarily calling, but basic functions. Can you do it on a PinePhone kind of device? The answer is, suck, yeah. It's kind of like a Raspberry Pi. Yeah. The only thing that somebody has to do is take an app that's designed for big screens and design it for a smaller screen. That's it. Then it'll work. Absolutely will work. Take a device made for a big screen, use a smaller screen with a mouse interface, and a lot of apps already use Qt or GTK to write the apps. Just size the screen smaller and make the fonts bigger, and you have something. So many apps could be ported, especially the open source ones, can be ported to the small form factor fairly easily on PostmarketOS. So you if you understand the possibilities here, maybe you don't yet, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of open source stuff. A lot. I'm thinking, just to give you an example, ham radio. Anybody into ham radio? Ham radio apps are not running on Ubuntu Touch. FLDigi, CWGet, these are not running. GNU Radio, they are not running on Ubuntu Touch. They are likely to run quite fine on PostmarketOS. I'll try them. They will, because they should work on that. Lenny PR, picture by picture, and you're still not. You already did it once, and you can't tell me it stops at number 5. It stops at number 6. I mean, maybe you need like a computer on the side to compare, so you're making sure you're not missing a step. I mean, I have a step-by-step picture on there, Lenny. Step-by-step pic. So, just tell me, I tried I tried it myself, so I've tried it several times. And those instructions are picture by picture, click by click. So, you got to be more specific and say, okay, it's failed on screen 5. What you show on the screen didn't happen. Well, then we can work on and see what you clicked on. Step 10, and it stopped at step 10. Wonder if there's a typo. Did you try west? Try west first. Don't stop. Don't use east then. Try west first. And try the one with no ads. Not the one with no ads. I don't know, Lenny PR. I got it. As you know, I spent hours for you last night. I mean, I didn't sleep working on that stuff for you. So if I have more detail, I can go try it out. So you said east doesn't work. Okay, I'll try east. I tried south and south worked. So and you tried south worked. Okay, I'll check on it. Maybe there's a typo in there. Hello, Rick. Like I said, I'll try it out. I got to find the time to try it, Lenny. I mean, I'm shutting down everything to do it. So I shut down my everything. I stopped my videos and everything to do it for you last night. So doing my best here, but the issue is not with me. It's with whoever programmed that. So anyway, I will help you. Just can't do it can't do it today because there's not enough time. Anyway, what else? You can't attach a Nexus 5 to a robot? Nexus 5 is Android. What are you going to do to the Nexus 5? What are you going to run as an OS? Android? Not easy. So, Android is made to lock you down. It's made for Google to make money, not for you. They didn't make it for you. Okay? Android wasn't made for you. It's made for Google to take advantage of you. So in Linux, I can run even open source code and just transfer it over and make it work. Okay? Lenny, also try, there's a no ads and the one with that doesn't have the no ads. Try UT. I already told you. Did you watch the video, Jellyfish? I told you that UT has a problem doing standard Linux stuff. That is the video today. Watch that video. I explained to you what the problem is. You cannot, for the kind of experimentation I want to do, it's not going to work with Ubuntu Touch for now because of something called Mir and how they made containers. It's not going to work. So Ubuntu Touch is a more locked down version of Linux. So PostmarketOS is wide open. You can do anything in PostmarketOS. I would love an experience similar to the TUI launcher for Android, but an authentic Linux environment. Hopefully something like that will emerge now. Now, I don't know what a TUI launcher is. Zebrazilla, so couldn't respond to that, says I don't know what that means, but suffice it to say that you can launch any program from PostmarketOS. When you're running an UI from PostmarketOS, it's just part of the init scripts. The initialization scripts just launches the first program that covers the screen and then locks you down to that screen. Then you think you're inside a phone environment. But really, that's all it is. Okay? It's like, if you're inside Brax and I never let you get out of Brax, then you think that is the environment. That's all that is. So in theory, somebody can plaster something on the screen and not give you a way out of the app, then that's the environment. Okay, that's what KDE, Plasma Mobile, Plasma, LFC, XFCE, all these, that's just all they are. They plaster a screen, an app on screen, and lock it down so you have no escape from it. You can't exit from the app, and they don't let you, put anything underneath that app. And then you have a desktop environment. Then they capture your keystrokes and everything else. That's how that works. So if I made a Python program and captured the whole screen and don't let you out of it, then I made my own desktop environment. It's not really more complicated than that. It's not more complicated than that. Okay, now, it gets more complicated when you go to the command prompt and you say, well, we don't want you to escape from this operating system. So that's what the jail is. Yes, it's called Chroot. You can be running in a Chroot, which is change root. And they decide what your root is going to be wherever your app happens to be, and then make the rest of the operating system invisible. That's done on PostmarketOS, done on Ubuntu Touch, and that if you do that, then not only can the physical app change, but even the internals can lock you in inside an environment. And that's what is Chroot. Chroot is something I want to teach you as well. Conceptually, I can do some videos explaining what Chroot is, because that's used so extensively in mobile. Ubuntu Touch is a Chroot, the Android that is running inside Ubuntu Touch, called Halium. That's actually a Chroot running inside a virtual machine. PostmarketOS is actually Chroot inside Alpine Linux, or I think they Chroot Alpine Linux. So it's like two Alpine Linuxes in there. The first one, and then the Chroot of what you see as PostmarketOS. So I think when I see it, I gotta try it out first. But I believe that's how it works. If it doesn't work like that, I'll figure it out in a moment. But it uses Chroot definitely when you run it. So what's the news on the Librem 5? You are not talking about what can I talk about? I'm not gonna get it till May. So what can I talk about? They don't want to release any information about it, and so I have nothing to really talk about, other than trying Fosh, which I'll be able to do on a Librem 5, on a PinePhone, and and I'll see what the interface is going to be like on a Librem 5. So yes, I have an order Librem 5, but they're not talking about it. They're not really doing very good PR. They haven't sent me a model to test. So, one of the Purism guys went to my channel and complained that I, did say positive things, but I bought a Librem 5. But until I have it, what can I say? I mean, I'm going to look for a solution right now. So, yeah, I'm on Evergreen. The bulk of the people are on Evergreen, so... which is probably good, because there's some so many issues that may require hardware fix. So I'm gonna wait to get the hardware fix on every. Software fix is okay, but hardware fix is kind of a problem. So if you have an earlier model, you're kind of zucked if you have a something that requires some resoldering. So so I don't want to be in that position. So Evergreen it is, and so maybe by June I'll be talking about the Librem 5. At the moment, I'm not. But the good news is that whatever I do on Linux on PostmarketOS should be transferable to doing it on. I'll be able to do it on the Librem 5. So no problem there. Hopefully that's all the same to me. I will delete the app, open VPN, and then restore so I can start. No, you don't need to do that, Lenny PR. You do not need to delete the open VPN. Don't complicate life for yourself. It has nothing to do with that. You would be an OpenBSD guy. They love security. Don't have time to go figure it out. Fake name. My focus is mobile at the moment, and FreeBSD is not the platform for doing that. So for mobile, no. I guess I should stay away from anything with Snapdragon. Snapdragon will be Android. Snapdragon is intended to be used with Android. It doesn't really. It's not really made to work with Linux. So at the moment, unless somebody makes one. But so we shall see. Maybe there'll be maybe that somebody will come up with a build that works with Snapdragon, or at least a newer Snapdragon. We don't really care about older Snapdragons. No, Lenny PR is running iPhone. You do not need to delete OpenVPN, Lenny PR. You already installed South, and South is working, right? I'm not. Lenny PR, you're the reason I'm not broadcasting on Periscope. I'm doing a lot of this for you. I am not broadcasting in Periscope because you complain that if I broadcast on Periscope, I shut down South. So I'm not gonna go broadcast in Periscope because I don't want to disrupt you. Okay, I don't want to disrupt you, so no Periscope. Okay, but you got South running, so this is only in this live video did you tell me you were having a problem at step 10 of installing it on iOS. I haven't heard it before until right now, so I need to find out what step 10 is, so I can think about what it is that you're having difficulty with. Can anyone recommend a good device I can start with? Start with what? The one that seems to have a lot of support from even PostmarketOS is the Nexus 5, but it will be running Android. Linux will just rent space on here. Really, the best is, a PinePhone. So, yeah, PinePhone is still the best because then it's just a lot simpler. You don't have the complications. So the best to experiment with is a PinePhone. But in the absence of that, this is a good general model that a lot of distros already work with, as far as running Linux with Android. So this is a fairly common one. The other one is a 1+1, which I have some problems with. And let's see. You can even, experiment with a Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi is actually not a bad platform to work with. I just don't know if they work with a new Raspberry Pi. I think they work with the older Raspberry Pi. So that's a good device to play with. The PinePhone is, if you haven't bought one, it's not in stock. So I bought mine in November, and then they depleted that stock, and it's probably not going to go on resale. You probably can pre-order next month, and then may take a couple of months to get it. Okay, so I would suggest pre-ordering next month, and maybe wait a couple of months until you get it. And then there's so much you can do experimentation-wise on a PinePhone. It's going to be a lot of fun for me. You can watch my videos because I'm going to do a lot of experimentation right here. Okay? So, anyway, please hit if you just came in and you like the content, please hit that like button on the video, because that is what is used by the algorithm to decide if anyone should watch this. So please support the channel by hitting that like button. And again, to summarize, I do install Linux on the Nexus 5 if I have stock. So if you want to pre-order these, and then when I get stock, then I only put a pre-order number that I can supply. So, and I don't have a number in there right now because I don't know how many I can get. And the other product I have is a Brax router. This allows you to do a wired or Wi-Fi router, so you can tunnel your entire house traffic through a wired VPN router. Very, very easy and simple. It's pretty much plug and play. You plug it in here, and there's a dongle you attach to have the devices connect to it, other Wi-Fis. Then you plug it into the existing Wi-Fi router, and now you have a trunk for your house that's all VPN, and it's gigabit. It's a gigabit router. So that's quite a nice feature because it simplifies using a VPN at any home. You're not going to have the problem that Lenny PR is installing a VPN on every device. He's having a problem installing on a iOS device using the standard app that's on there. You're not going to have that problem because I don't have to do anything. I just connect to the Wi-Fi. So no setup whatsoever with a Brax router. This is absolutely best solution simplifying, and it's a one-time purchase only. You know, the VPN subscription, if you already have it, it's a one-time purchase only to get the device. Okay, so thank you for and of course I have Bytes VPN right there. So Bytes VPN is my VPN. Now, what makes Bytes VPN unique, guys? Bytes VPN comes with Pi-hole. So you have a automatic no ads with Pi-hole already built in. You don't need a Pi-hole server. We take care of that for you. So your DNS is secure and private. Plus we block ads, and it's already built in on VPN. VPN is much faster because we don't load it with a lot of users. And the other thing that's unique about Bytes VPN is that it comes with a Tor option, so you can use Tor with it. So you have the option saying, I think I want to do some things that are marginal, and use Tor. Don't download using BitTorrent on the VPN. It's not downloading a peer-to-peer on a using BitTorrent. It's not private. Okay, don't use BitTorrent. I don't know fake name. Don't ask me that. Go search. Can I use my Brax router with my Brax router? Yes, you turn one into open. You turn one into open mode and it becomes a normal router. Then you plug it into this Brax router, and then the old Brax router, the Brax Wi-Fi it's called. The old version is called Brax Wi-Fi. So if you have a Brax Wi-Fi, you can plug it into this and have an additional router, which I actually do. But you have to put it to open mode. You don't want to have VPN twice. Okay? One VPN. What am I also missing? You take PinePhone and network it with a Raspberry Pi with MySQL server, another Raspberry Pi with a web server, and sort of package them in a case. Why do you need to do that? You can put it all on a PinePhone. You can put your SQL server, your website on the PinePhone. You don't need a Raspberry Pi. Everything you can do in Raspberry Pi, you can do in a PinePhone. A PinePhone is actually a Raspberry Pi with LTE. Think about it like that. A PinePhone is a Raspberry Pi with a screen, a touch screen, LTE, Wi-Fi, Ethernet. It doesn't have USB 3. It's only USB 2, but it's fairly functional as a Raspberry Pi. It's about the speed of a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus, and everything's on it, and you can do anything on it, including run a website. So you are, thank you, the singing bowl guy. So yes, you can do, there's so much experimentation you can do on a PinePhone is just like a Raspberry Pi. And you could not configure a Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi is around $70. If you add the screen to it and power and battery and all that, you couldn't get, it'll be more than 150. So the PinePhone is definitely a, more affordable thing for what it including LTE. If you include all that, you'll be certainly $250 if you configure the Raspberry Pi with all that, and it would be big. It wouldn't be as compact. I mean, a PinePhone is just a little bit larger than this. It's kind of like a larger phone. So yeah, big difference. There's a lot of possibilities with a PinePhone, even if you're not going to use it for phone calling. It's a more powerful but it's a more complete Raspberry Pi. That's why it's exciting, because you can do the same things. Okay, well, thank you guys. So I have a new video. It's going to be about PostmarketOS, and it will come out in the morning. And if I get my PinePhone tomorrow, then expect a unboxing Sunday or Monday, depending when I get it. Okay, so yeah, so video. There will be a video tomorrow, so wait for it in the morning. If you haven't seen my video on Ubuntu Touch number 3, watch that, because that kind of explains some of the issues why you have to think about, for more advanced users like I'm talking about, why I have to think about using PostmarketOS. So that's the explanation, and that's what the purpose of Ubuntu 3.0, of Ubuntu Touch part 3 is about. Okay. Thank you. So, okay, guys. So I'll see you, and then again for the scheduling part here. Maybe I'll have the John McAfee interview in a video by next weekend. Maybe. Okay? So I have a John McAfee interview happening, and then I can probably post a video at the end of the weekend. Okay? So thank you for watching, guys, and appreciate it. And I will see you in a video. Well, you'll see me in a video tomorrow, and see you in more videos next week, and then live stream next Friday at 8 p.m. Pacific time as usual. Okay, guys. Good night.